The terror doesn't arrive with a scream, but with a steady, rhythmic drumbeat. Deep in the mist-choked mountains of the Balkans, a Christian village goes deadly quiet as that heavy thumping echoes off the valley walls. The men hide their faces, the women clutch their children, and the dogs stop barking. The Ottoman collectors have arrived. They aren't here for gold, grain, or livestock. They are here to collect the devshirme, the blood tax. For centuries, this was the nightmare of every Christian family under Ottoman rule. You didn't pay this tax with coin, you paid it with your own flesh and blood. The Sultan's officers set up a table in the muddy town square, open a leather-bound ledger, and call for the boys. They want the best stock you have. The selection process is cold, mechanical, and ruthless. Officers walk the line of shivering children like horse traders, prying open mouths to check teeth, squeezing biceps, and staring deep into terrified eyes to find the spark of intelligence. They don't want the weak, the sick, or the soft. They want boys between 8 and 14 who are strong enough to survive the grinder and smart enough to lead armies. If your son is chosen, there is no appeal. A finger points, a name is scratched into the ledger, and the life of a farm boy ends in a heartbeat. Soldiers drag the chosen children away from their weeping mothers, grouping them into long columns for the march south. They leave behind their families, their homes, and their God. As they trudge hundreds of miles toward the massive walls of Istanbul, they are no longer free humans. They are cool. They are the Sultan's personal slaves, raw human clay ready to be thrown into the fire. The boys who arrive in Istanbul do not become soldiers overnight. First, they must be completely unmade. The process begins with total erasure. They are stripped naked, their heads are shaved, and their Christian names are crossed out forever. In a single afternoon, a boy named Luka or Mate vanishes, replaced by a Muslim recruit named Mehmed or Ali. But a change of clothes doesn't change a soul, so the conditioning goes deeper. They are circumcised and forced to convert to Islam, breaking the spiritual link to their past lives. Then the real hardening begins. Most are not sent to a palace, but to the harsh, sun-baked farms of Anatolia. For years, they work under the whip of Turkish landowners carrying heavy rocks, digging irrigation ditches, and sleeping on hard earth. This serves two brutal purposes. It builds rock-hard muscle, and it forces them to learn Turkish just to survive. If they survive the farms, they graduate to the Asemi Oglan, the novice corps. Here, the farm tools are swapped for heavy iron bars and composite bows. The physical training is designed to push the human body past its biological limits. The most iconic drill involves the bow. A Janissary war bow has a draw weight of over 100 pounds, requiring immense power to fire. The boys train by pulling the string back thousands of times a day, every day, for years. This repetitive stress is so intense that it actually deforms their growing skeletons. Their right shoulders broaden and their spines thicken, permanently warping their bodies to fit the weapon. There is no room for individuality here. They eat together, sleep in long rows, and move as one organism. The punishments for disobedience are severe, beatings on the soles of the feet that leave men crawling for weeks. Slowly, the memory of the mother and father back in the village fades away. In their place stands a new father, the Sultan, and a new family, the corps. The farm boy is dead. The weapon is almost ready. The body is now a weapon, but the mind must be a fortress. The final step of the transformation is spiritual. The recruits are inducted into the Bektashi order, a mystical branch of Islam that blends strict discipline with fanatical devotion. They are taught that the regiment is their true family, the Sultan is their father, the barracks is their home. Their most sacred symbol is not a flag, but a cooking pot, the kazan. This massive copper soup kettle is the heart of the unit. They gather around it to eat, they pray around it, and they guard it with their lives. To lose the Kazan in battle is the ultimate disgrace. To overturn it in the barracks is a sign of mutiny. This creates a bond of brotherhood thicker than blood. They do not fight for a country or a map. They fight for the man standing next to them and the soup they share. When they finally march to war, they bring something new to the chaotic medieval battlefield: silence. While European armies are disorganized mobs of shouting knights and peasants, the Janissaries move in total terrifying silence. Thousands of men march in perfect step, their tall felt caps forming a white C, the only sound the rhythmic thud of boots and the clanking of sabers. This discipline allows them to master the newest, deadliest technology of the age, the matchlock musket. They are the first modern standing army in history. They don't go home at harvest time. War is their only job. They plant their feet, level their heavy muskets, and unleash volley fire with robotic precision. They are the shock troops, the Sultan's shadow. When the Janissary music corps finally begins to play, a wall of shrill zurnas and thundering davul drums, the enemy knows the killing blow is coming. The farm boy is gone. The empire's executioner has arrived. But there is a fatal flaw in creating a perfect weapon. Eventually, it realizes it holds the gun. Over centuries, the discipline rots. The Janissaries stop being soldiers and start being a mafia. They demand higher pay, they refuse to drill, and they block any attempt to modernize the army. The Sultan's slaves become the Sultan's nightmares. If a ruler tries to curb their power, they overturn their soup kettles, the signal for mutiny, and the streets run red. They strangle sultans with bowstrings and toss their bodies into the Bosphorus. By 1826, the empire is the sick man of Europe, and the Janissaries are the cancer. Sultan Mahmud II knows he cannot disband them. He has to exterminate them. He carefully builds a new loyal artillery corps in secret. When the Janissaries inevitably revolt in Istanbul, overturning their kettles and demanding heads, Mahmud is ready. He doesn't send negotiators, he sends cannons. Loyal troops surround the Janissary barracks, trapping thousands of the elite guards inside. The order is given. Grape shot and cannonballs smash through the wooden walls, igniting a massive inferno. The Janissaries, once the terror of Christendom, scream as they are burned alive in their own beds. Those who stumble out of the smoke are cut down by musket fire. By the time the smoke clears, the core is erased. The auspicious incident, as history calls it, marks the bloody end of the experiment. The history of the Janissaries began with the theft of a weeping child, and it ended in a pile of ash.